You start.
Okay.
We're live.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Cyberkach webinar today. I can already see some persons that have logged in from different location, which is really great. And I am super excited to be here. Thank you all for making the time to be here with us. So let's quickly go into why we are here. Today, we'll be unpacking insights from the first ever Cyberkach monthly cyber report for December. And the title of the cyber report is Low Confidence, High Risk, Benchmarking Organizational AI Security Readiness. We'll discuss the key findings from the report and what's really happening with AI security in organizations, maturity of AI security programs, shadow AI, and what can realistically be done to make AI safer without overcomplicating things. And I'm joined here by two amazing speakers, Mr. Kachi and Mr. John, who will be sharing their perspective. Hi, Kachi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Chinaza, and thank you for our listeners for joining. My name is Onyekachi Okereke. I lead the Cyberkach team, and this is an interesting conversation for me because in the past months we did a lot of work on this report that came out, looked at data, how firms are using AI and what controls different organizations have around AI. And what we found was interesting. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Also looking forward to chatting with John again. So hello everyone.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kachi. Hi, John.
Hello, Chinada. Hi, Kachi. It's a pleasure to be here again. AI and cybercrime is a very interesting topic, one that is becoming more important over the last couple of years. Last year alone, cybercrime cost the world 10.5 trillion, which if you take it as a standalone figure, it's the third largest economy in the world. So we expect that in 2026, that subject is going to continue to be important, and so which is why we're having this conversation today. So my name is Orakwe John, AI programs lead, and in the last 3 years, I've worked with well over 3,000 people across 10 different countries to help advance their AI maturity. And I look forward to enjoying this conversation with you guys.
Wow, I'm also looking forward to the conversation. Thank you so much, John, and thank you so much, Mr. Kachi. So yeah, let's quickly ease into the main issues for today. Organizations are adopting AI incredibly fast, right? Sometimes faster than their IT and security teams can even realistically keep up. Now, what we are seeing very advanced AI tools running in environments where security hasn't quite caught up, right? Kachi, does this resonate with what you see, from day to day?
In summary, I would say yes, Chineza. From working, from the research we've done to work on this report, and even from consulting services that we do. So we speak to different organizations. And to be fair, everyone wants to use ChatGPT or something to make their work easier. You can't blame them. Um, but the theme that has happened in 2025 is the amount of AI tools being adopted across the firm, say company A, is far more than how much security controls the security teams can keep up to build around those AI tools. And it also gives rise to the talk about shadow IT, which I think John can speak on, where you can see there are more even AI tools being used within the organization than the IT teams or the security teams know about. So yes, that is what we've seen during this research in the past, in 2025, and even from work experience, speaking with colleagues.
Thank you so much, Kachi. So the next question is for John. From your experience, why do you think shadow AI is spreading so fast?
Well, there's a very strong temptation to tap from the hyper efficiency of AI. So why I say this is we've seen people do 2 weeks of work in just about 2 hours using specific AI tools. So that is always something that everybody is tempted to do. So when you look at it from that perspective, people always want to take on an AI tool, adopt an AI tool that can help them, be hyper efficient, whether or not the company approves it. And so, even if a company has a policy against a particular AI tool, the temptation is always there to try to use it to accomplish your work faster. So, but the thing, we're also saying that for companies that have an AI policy, they either have a policy that is too technology centric and doesn't focus on the other, essentials of AI transformation, that is people and culture, which is, I would say 80% of the work that you need to do to make AI successful. And then the other part of AI transformation, processes and systems. And then before you consider the technology. So we've also seen that those with an AI policy, sometimes they do not take account of something called the task completion time horizon. So between 2019 to 2024, it used to be that every 7 months, the capabilities of the AI agents in the market doubled every 7 months. But between 2024 and 2025, the capacity of these AI agents at 50% completion rate is now just about 4 months and is pushing towards 3 months. So what it means is that even if there's an AI policy in place for a company from 2024 or maybe let's say 2023, chances are that in 2025, that policy has to be reviewed against the capacity of today's agents. Right? So that's so these are some of the reasons why you see people just use shadow AI. The temptation is always there, but then for companies that have these policies, they do not even revise it fast enough to keep up with how fast the field of AI is moving.
John, the interesting thing, and if I come in here, is interestingly on the market, shadow AI is a big deal. But interestingly on the market, there are tools that you can use to maybe find what technology is used in your organization. So that you can find tools that are maybe shadow IT, shadow AI. But that is probably not enough as a control because so you're looking at it from a technology perspective of how to fix the symptom. And what you were saying then is better to fix the issue itself, starting from the people and the processes, maybe education. And we have some time to look at that in detail later, before you don't even want to look at technology controls to say, how do I use technology to manage shadow AI? You want to work on culture first. Yeah, so that's the way to look at it. But thank you very much, John, for that point.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Kachi. Thank you so much, John. So yeah, let's move to the some of the findings from the reports. Right. First one is that only 25% of organizations have a mature AI governance program. In simple terms, only 1 in 4 organizations have documented clear policies for managing AI and implemented these AI policies across their organization. John, when you saw the number, what stood out for you?
So I've seen this with some of the companies that we work with. Governance usually comes last after innovation. But the unfortunate thing is that people always take governance seriously after something breaks. And with AI, the risks are much higher. So in speaking to this question, and when thinking about this particular question right now, I remember the Bangladeshi bank hack of 2016. So what happened in that case was there was, an absence of leadership, I would guess. And then what happened was the people who, broke into the bank. So you had the Central Bank of Bangladesh and you had the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. What they did was they got into the network and disabled a particular printer. Now, if there was leadership, when a printer fails in an organization, somebody would take responsibility for that printer. So what happened? There was no leadership, no governance. It was just innovation. And then what the fraudsters did was that they moved about $101 million dollars through that hack, of which only 21 million was recovered. This is a physical process. If the same thing should happen with an AI system, with an AI agent in an organization, the loss could be much worse than what you had with a physical system. So what needs to happen is that every company has to pay serious attention to AI governance. And one of the things I mentioned earlier is the term called the task completion time horizon. every policy, every AI policy has to account for that. Every workflow within the company, every task within the company, they have to ask themselves, based on how fast the field is changing, how can they adapt to the speed of how can they adapt to the speed of change? So that's something that everyone has to pay a lot of attention to.
Okay. Thank you so much, John. So everyone has to pay attention to how fast we react as well. So
Yeah.
yes. So the next question is for Kachi. The report also shows that attackers are using AI to cut exploit time almost in half, right? Kachi, what does this tell you? Like, what do you have to say about this?
Okay, so I will step back a bit to discuss this. I will just step back a bit to discuss how we worked on the Cyberkach report for December 2025. So we had different sets of data. We had some internal data that was collected by Cyberkach from polling for different groups. So we polled different industry individuals and got some of the data that we had. And obviously, to validate that, we went searching for external data sets. So we looked at different organizations that had published reports or had published raw data sets to compare that with the results of the poll that we took internally, just to be at least scientifically sure that our data made sense. And you can stay on the previous slide. So some of the data or the organizations we looked at are the ones you see on the screen here. So essentially, but on the faster time to exploit, this has been blown up or cut down, in quote. The time to exploit vulnerabilities has extremely been cut down by AI. First of all, you can go to different AI platforms and help them and ask them, how can I exploit XYZ? What you probably would have built yourself in several hours, you would get in minutes. In fact, Anthropic, one of the bigger, I mean, all of us do know Anthropic, had reported in November, I think, about some actors that had used their Anthropic system to automate a full cyber attack cycle, everything from reconnaissance to initial access to exploitation, every single thing. Um, at least 90% of all the stages were done independently by Anthropic system. Now, to do a full cyber attack, that kill chain or that life cycle, it would take you sometimes several man hours, several days. But if you can have a system as strong as Anthropic that can cut that down, and it's a big deal. So these are the things that we've seen, and which Gartner here has also backed by saying 50% time to exploit when you weigh out everything. So is again a major concern because today we are trying to discuss what the best firms are doing to manage security risk around AI tools. So the best organizations, or maybe not the best, but the ones that are most concerned about protecting themselves, um, are wary of this and want to make sure that they can put blocks or controls around all of these tools because it's a lot more easier to then exploit vulnerabilities, which they would have. So we will continue to see more of this in the rest of the report when we discuss them. But yes, absolutely, the way AI, and John has said this, the way AI makes everything faster, time to exploit vulnerabilities is also cut down massively by 50%, as Gartner just said. And it's a shame when you compare it to the other data set we have there about maturity of AI governance programs, because when you have good governance, then you can have adequate controls around these AI tools. So if the time to exploit based on AI is a lot shorter, and you have just far fewer firms going the distance in implementing governance around their AI tools, then a lot of us need to do more work to make sure that we raise the maturity of our AI security, our AI governance programs. Yeah, thank you, Janet.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kachi. Thank you so much, John. The conversation have really been interesting. So yeah, let's go into our other findings from the report, which is let's try to like tie everything together. So many organizations don't have a dedicated owner of AI security, right? It's something Kachi also have mentioned before, right? In plain terms, nobody is clearly in charge. So why is this a big problem?
Um, to be fair, let's move to the next slide. To be fair, over the year, it has gotten better. In fact, it has gotten better maybe from the past years, from when AI just came out. But it's probably still not enough because this is the result of a poll we ran internally as well. And it's that clear ownership of AI governance, AI security. It needs to sit with somebody, whether it's the CISO, whether it's DPO, whether it's someone in the data team. And imagine that you work in company A, and like John has said, it's important to set up good culture, starting from the people, from the processes, before you even explore the technologies around AI usage, because people will be tempted to use AI. Now, if there is no one to take that by the scruff of the neck and say, this is what we're going to do, or to educate people on how to safely use AI tools, because you can't stop them from using AI tools. And even you may have some limitations. You may have maybe an allowed list of AI tools, but someone to take charge of that. If you don't have that, then it's going to be a big deal because people just play hot potato with it. No, I'm not supposed to do it. No, I'm not supposed to do it. And the organization is losing time or losing pace in the race to stay secure. So, again, what we saw that the biggest organizations had done was first, they make sure that there was good ownership, which is part of governance. The CISO, maybe the CTO, somebody, but someone is clearly in charge and saying, this is what this organization, this is the strategic direction we will take as an organization in terms of AI usage, or these are the tools we can use. Or if you have a new tool that you want to use, you can talk to XYZ person. Again, John, because something, one of the reasons there's a bust in shadow AI is I see a new tool. I'm interested to use it to maybe improve my workflows. I don't even know who to speak to within the organization because there's no clear ownership. Now, if there's a clear ownership that is communicated to me as a staff in company A, I will know I have to speak to John. And John can say, oh, okay, this tool is fair, but there are some issues with it. Why don't you use this other one? But if there is no clear owner of that AI governance process, then I just use it. And whatever happens, happens. So it's important, again, like we said, the best organizations make sure that there's a clear owner of AI governance.
Okay, that's a detailed explanation from you, Kachi. Thank you so much. So yeah, been talking about shadow AI, shadow AI. John has talked about it, and I think we still have questions around that. So yeah, thank you, John. And also moving ahead, let's explore shadow AI a little bit. Shadow AI happens when employees use AI tools without IT oversight, right? So, John, could you talk us on how this might be a problem for, the organization?
So, thank you, Kachi, for what you said about people and culture there. So, if I might just add to that answer about governance, the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund, they have a staff strength of about 676 people. What they did was, create a very interesting ownership structure. They have about six core AI enablers and 40 AI champions spread across different departments. So whenever a question arises about what tool to use for a specific thing, you can reach out to the 40 AI champions or any of the six AI enablers. That's something I believe different companies can adopt so that there's always ownership, leadership across the entire organization with respect to AI leadership. So when it comes to the question that you asked about the dangers of shadow AI, I think the most common answer that you hear from people is the loss of intellectual property and all the other economic dangers that comes with it. But from experience, what I think is the greatest danger is the loss of human agency. The fact that you have people who, without the use of AI, they're unable to be productive. So we saw, in December 11th and December 26th of last year, we saw a shadow of what that might look like. ChatGPT went down on those 2 days. This was in 2024, and a lot of people reported that they couldn't work. They couldn't, do a lot of the things that they normally do. So why, and this is one of the reasons why I say that the loss of human agency is one of the greatest dangers of shadow AI within companies. Now, I also say that because if you look at something called the six levels of cognition, which is the ability to take information, understand the information, apply to new context. You have reading, you have understanding, you have applying, you have evaluation, analysis, all the way to creation. Over reliance on AI can lead to a loss of the ability to function across all of these different paradigms. So when a company has an AI policy and they pick specific tools that can help employees, they can often do it with the view that the staff that use this tool, they improve their critical thinking, they improve their ability to deliver, and they improve, the ability to create, and even, the ability to do meta cognition. But they are AI tools that are pretty much they help you do everything. They don't help you think. They don't help you do any form of guided learning. And to experience this firsthand, you can go to Gemini or ChatGPT and click on the guided learning experience and then ask it to help you through a process. Guided learning will engage you so that you understand what is being done in the process of creating whatever kind of economic value. But there are other tools that just do all the work for you. So it's important that as we all learn to work with humans and we lead, these teams of AI agents, that we maintain human agency. And in fact, Microsoft will say that every employee is expected to lead a team of AI agents. The quiet part, what they don't say out loud is that they should lead. We are leading teams of humans and AI agents without losing our human agency. And we're using all of these tools without losing our ability to produce. We all function on the principle of use it or lose it. So whatever AI policies are being adopted have to enable us to be productive without losing our ability to actually produce. So in addition to the more common answer of intellectual property loss, it is the loss of human agency that I think is one of the biggest under-discussed issues of the use of shadow AI.
Okay, that's a well-detailed explanation. Thank you so much, John. So this is more like a break for our attendees as well. If you have a question, you can drop on the chat session. We will look at the chat session. But then there's a quick poll for everyone. Do you think shadow AI exists in your organization? If yes, you can type in yes on the chat session. No, if it doesn't exist, or if you're not sure, you can type in not sure on the chat session. As the call goes on, we are going to check, and also we are going to also use it, compile those things for our next report as well. So yeah, let's move on to we are trying to wrap up with the questions. So yeah, let's move on to another major issue that was highlighted in the report, which is around supply chain risk, around third-party AI tools, right? Specifically, when polled, we got that 83% of our respondents did not have a formal risk assessment procedure for AI third-party tools. Another poll confirmed that a key supply chain risk concern of businesses is malicious AI components embedded in third-party tools. Kachi, do you have any thoughts on this?
I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Okay.
I can talk about supply chain risk for days, so I need to manage what I say here.
Yeah.
But supply chain risk management is absolutely important, especially when you have AI tools and shadow AI tools that um, are modding your perimeters, in quotes, as your text infrastructure perimeters, in quotes. We've looked at different data sets. Yeah, this was our internal polling, but we even looked at, let's say, data from Security Scorecard, one of the leading third-party risk management firms. And I think like maybe 90% of organizations have interacted with vendors that were breached in the past year or so. So it's a big deal. because supply chain risk management is you've done everything, or supply chain attacks is you've done everything to protect yourself, but because your company uses vendor A, if vendor A gets breached, you could be breached via them. So it's a big deal. And it's slightly concerning, actually very concerning, if several organizations do not have a formal risk assessment procedure for AI tools. Now, you could make an argument that your regular risk assessment procedure for regular tools could work for AI tools. Um, but then if you look at the different standards, NIST, the different, actually ISO, different standards that have released frameworks for managing risk around AI tools, there are slight modifications you can make. But in summary, and just to keep this on time, um, it is absolutely important to start looking at the different AI tools used in your organization from a supply chain perspective. What security risks could they expose us to? If this major AI platform that we use in our workflow gets breached, how much of their hands do they have in our code base or in our infrastructure or in our data set? And how can we manage that access that they have? Because when every team, finance, IT, security, every single team, operations is using AI tools, you will probably find out that there are AI tools in all aspects of your organization. So we want to then start looking at that and looking at an actual, and I've done risk assessments around AI tools. So I've done a bunch of these. You can have an actual risk assessment procedure that is tailored to each AI tool or tailored to AI tools so that when you have a request from anybody in your organization, I found an AI tool I want to use, you can quickly perform it and tell them, oh, we may accept this, oh, we may not accept this. It's absolutely important. I'll leave it at that, Chinaza, so that I don't take too much of our time.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Kachi. So now let's discuss some security threats that are specific to AI systems, right? John, you're an expert on this. Could you quickly walk us through some common ones we could be aware of in this COVID year?
So thank you for that question. So I like to think of AI across three broad spectrum: people and culture, which is the most important part, then processes and systems, and then the technology. On the technology side of things, you have things like prompt injection. Prompt injection, you can see an innocent looking image. Maybe you get an email from someone. There's an image embedded, and when the AI system tries to process this image, the prompt that is hidden within the image is executed. And of course, prompts can be embedded into large PDF documents and into books as well. Text and images can have these hidden prompts inside of them. So it's very important to be aware of these, of these kinds of technical issues with today's AI systems, especially because, like I said, AI is people and culture. A lot of the simulations we have within different companies today focus on just phishing simulations to help people understand. When you get an email like this that looks this suspicious, you have to report it to security or don't even click on it. But the field has evolved so fast, especially with the prompt injection that I told you earlier. You have to include phishing. So phishing is an advanced form of simulation where, let's say, you're cloning voices of people within the company, so that you're making your employees immune to voice simulations, and then you're also doing things like deepfake simulations. So all of these have to be part of what people are aware of, especially because, I mean, if you look at the top attack vectors for 2025, phishing was 16% in people and culture. Supply chain compromise, which Kachi already talked about, was the second most important attack vector at 15%, and then stolen credentials at 10%. So you can say a lot of the security threats still fall within the realm of educating employees, helping them understand all of the different ways that these bad actors can leverage AI to act against the interest of the company. So prompt injection is number one, which everyone has to be aware of, and of course all the other negative applications across voice, video, and in large documents.
Thank you, John.
All right. Kachi, you want to add something to that?
No, no, no. We can continue. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, Kachi. We are gradually coming to the end of this session. So, as an organization, this is more of us, trying to discuss some of the strategic recommendations for brands, for organizations. So, as an organization, you want to continuously reduce your attack surface, especially while increasing use of AI tools. We've highlighted what the best companies in the AI do on our December Cyberkach monthly security report. Kachi, could you walk our audience through how we documented and the report and the best ways to organizations can protect themselves, from this AI attack?
So thank you, Chinaza. So the once again, the point of the report was to look at the speed which organizations were adopting AI, which is massive from the data we saw, and then the speed of the controls around those AIs, which was not necessarily catching up. So there was more adoption of AI tools than relevant controls to manage those specific tools. First, that was the first argument in the report. And then we saw some of the data sets that we've looked at, for example, around responses on supply chain. We've seen how much of organizations have ownership. We looked at the speed of exploitation, in quote. But the firms that are most serious about AI controls do one thing, and I'm going to keep it to one thing because of time. Um, they follow a risk-based approach. And this is what I would always say as a recommendation. You want to follow the risk. Because if you follow the risk as a business, you're looking at what impacts your business the most, and you're fixing those things first. So, having a risk-based process to managing AI security within your organization solves a lot of the problems for you. So, first, understanding all of the places that you have AI tools supporting your workflow, understanding the ones that are most critical. Say you're a bank, for example. If you're a bank and you have some key staff using AI tools around your core banking workflow, and then you also have some key staff using maybe some staff using AI tools around maybe their calendar. Obviously, you want to be more concerned about the guys using AI tools to support the core banking. You may not stop them, but you want to be more concerned and putting controls around that immediately, because if your core banking goes down, your whole banking organization goes down with it. So that is the point of going from a risk-based perspective. So all the best firms that have done the best work in implementing controls around AI were always risk-based. Do a risk assessment process, and this is why I was concerned that many organizations do not have a specific risk process for AI. You do a risk assessment, you understand the biggest impact AI tools within your organization, and you start from there to implement controls. It helps you do two things. It helps you to understand at least most of the AI tools being used in your firm, even if you don't find all. Understand the ones that are the biggest impact and manage those ones first. So that is what I would recommend. For want of time, follow a risk-based approach. Thank you.
So much, Kachi. Yes. So yeah, we're trying to like wrap up. So this is more like a last question for John. So John, if organizations could fix just one thing first around using AI securely, what would you advise them to do?
Right. So they need to focus on their people and culture. They have to center on their people and culture. That is very key. Because that is, everything. If they want to succeed with AI, they have to do that. If they want to be safe with AI, they have to also do that. Like Achia said, you need to know what tools are existing within the organization, what tools are people using. But because, like I said earlier, there's a report that says over 68% of people do not report the correct tools that they use to do their work. So it's very necessary. If you have, phishing simulations in 2026, you can't just do only phishing simulations. You must include phishing, audio simulations, clone voices of authority figures within a company, see who falls for it. Do the same thing with deepfake simulations. Prepare your people, and then ultimately help them to work faster and in a way that they do not lose human agency, which is, I think, the greatest risk in addition to all the economic losses that are possible.
That's interesting, John, because yes, it's also I agree with the people and culture point. The people are absolutely important. If you don't get them on board, then you're probably wasting your time in
Oh,
all your
yes.
initiatives. Yes, definitely, I
Yes.
agree. China's a back thing.
All right, it's been an amazing 20, that's like 36 minutes, right? And we've been having awesome conversation, and we are finally at the last phase phase or last minutes of this session. Thank you all so much for joining the call today. Kachi, do you want to tell us about the report?
Yes, we can quickly close. Thank you, John. Thank you, Chinaza, and thank you, everyone. The report, please download the report. If you go to cyberkach.com/report/AI security
Yeah,
benchmark, and we will probably still put this link. I think we've put it on LinkedIn as well to read the report for yourself because there's a lot more in we go into more detail within the report, so
yeah.
download it, and if you have thoughts, please let us know. But thank you so much, John has joined us multiple times for webinars, and thank you very much, Chinaza. Bye everyone.
Thank you all. Bye. Enjoy the rest of your day.